What is the most memorable NSFW thing that happened in high school? My math teacher told us if we all got A's and B's on our test, he'd dye his hair green and rollerblade down the hallway. We all passed, and sure enough, he showed up to school with green hair the following week. During class transitions he was out rollerblading down the hall, when he thought it would be funny to mess with the jokester student. So he grabbed him and tried to push him in the girls' bathroom as a joke, and another student trying to help ran up behind them and shut the door. The tip of my teacher's pinky finger was near the hinges, and it was sliced off. Blood was everywhere and the tip of his finger was just lying there in the floor. To make matters worse, they sent the severed finger to the wrong hospital. But he had good spirits when he came back, even naming the finger Quasimodo. 2 sophomores got suspended for recording themselves having sex in the distance learning classroom. Some online classes required video cameras for lectures. They used that and recorded a sex tape. Distance learning sounds like a regular class, but the board is really far away. Some guy was caught masturbating in the girls' bathroom. Imagine our surprise when another was caught soon after. After that, they had a teacher stand outside the bathroom during lunch and had it locked during class so they'd need to go the staff room instead. Felt bad for the girls. The school, your attention please. We have caught the person masturbating in the girls' restroom. That one person who only half listens in class hears, please, masturbate in the girls' restroom. Oh what? Okay, if you say so. A freshman gave a blowjob to a senior behind the buses. Never even realizing that while they were out of view from the first floor, that entire side of the school could see them from the second floor. The guy got in some legal trouble because he was 18, and that day was literally the last time anyone at our school saw that girl. We assume she transferred or moved or something. Computer teacher opened whitehouse.com on the projector during a follow-along class. This was in the late 90s when that site was porn-based. I mean, the regular White House was pretty porn-based in the 90s too. The social studies teacher's boobs fell out of her dress on stage in front of the whole school. How big were they? Did she have to resign after that? Username checks out. With no warning at all, a girl in my class threw up a stomach full of blood all over her desk and books. The teacher went pale and stared at her. She just softly said, sorry. The teacher just pointed to the door and just said, go to the nurse, then pointed to the girl next to her and said, you go with her. I don't remember what was wrong with her, but she ended up missing about 2 months of school after that. She recovered and is fine now. I love that throwing up blood gets the same reaction as a nosebleed. A kid broke his leg in PE once and was given an ice pack and nothing else while waiting for an ambulance or something to arrive. A girl got caught sucking dick in the theater room. Twice. You didn't learn your lesson the first time, did you? 2 kids got caught in the wrestling room, they were totally wrestling. Naked. Female volleyball coach of men's volleyball, she let us have an end-of-season party at her place. One of the guys on the team spent the night there and banged her. Guarantee that was her plan to get you guys there all along. You joke, but it probably was. What responsible teacher invites students to their own home? There's correct ways to manage it. I knew of a senior chem teacher who would invite his year 12 class around for a barbecue after graduation each year. There's evidently a line between invite the nerds for a barbecue and invite the jocks for a kegger, though. A freshman kid at our high school has been collecting pictures of naked assholes from students. So far he has 37. He got them from other people or getting them himself. The only reason I found out was because the dude was sitting at a table I was at and had placed his phone flat on the table. He then proceeded to open up his private pictures in Snap. Edit, he now has 38. What the fuck is with collecting asshole pictures? This isn't the first time I've heard of this hobby. This is a different kind of NSFW, probably, but once a freshman shat all over a bathroom stall and wrote some other kid's name on the wall to try and frame him, I guess. Well, that kid wasn't even present that day, so the culprit was caught pretty quickly and had to transfer out. The dean had sat all the boys in the school, freshmen and sophomores together and then juniors and seniors together, in our conference room and showed them the stall to try and scare a confession out of them. I guess it worked. I only know this because my husband, BF at the time, was in the conference room and almost got in trouble for this mess because he thought it was hilarious and couldn't stop laughing at the dean's poop presentation. He still, to this day, doesn't know what the poor man expected. To just show a bunch of teenage boys a poopy slideshow? During psychology class, this girl had her phone between her skirt and I guess every time she got a text or something, it would vibrate and she would kinda squirm. It was interesting to watch since I was across from her. How many times did you text her? English teacher got pregnant by my high school quarterback who was also the police chief's son for my town. I've never seen Riverdale but I imagine this is what happens on Riverdale but with Cole Sprouse being moody in the background. That's a banger. Banger. I hardly know her. The in-school suspension supervisor got fired and may be arrested for having sex with one of the students. She was 15. Who hires a 15-year-old as a supervisor? A small group of students at my high school was convinced aliens were observing us because a certain corn field near the football field would have crop circles every year. It was flattened out patches from where kids would sneak off to have sex during football games. As a kid raised on a farm, why would you go fuck into the cornfield? Corn leaves are quite sharp and can cut you easily, not to mention spiders and other bugs that live there. Because they didn't want to get caught and in the corn, nobody can hear you scream. 2 of our married gym teachers got caught having sex in the weight room after school. 1 male and 1 female teacher. They weren't married to each other. Yeah, 2 employees were caught doing that in the company gym where I used to work. One was named Steele, until she divorced not long after, for some reason, and the joke going around was we should go to the gym and pump steel. Another school in our district had an orgy, and filmed it in the school bathroom. I put quotations around that because it was like 7 guys to 2 girls. Worst part was that they were barefoot in the men's bathroom. Almost threw up seeing that. Senior prank gone wrong. Every once in a while the school Olympic-sized pool needed to be chlorine-killed for cleanliness and it was unusable for a few hours until the chlorine adequately dispersed. This is important. Senior prank time rolls around and a bunch of the seniors decide to buy pick-up truckloads of dry ice to dump in the pool to mist up the school. Well, these geniuses accidentally timed it with chlorination schedule of the pool and blanketed the whole school with chlorine gas. It was shut down for a week. Literally NSFW. This is by far the funniest one here. Yeah, nothing funnier than surprise chemical warfare on a school law. So this didn't actually happen at high school, but it is still relevant. About 2 weeks before we graduated, I decided to throw a field party on a farm as a graduation party. I was expecting 30 or 40 people, but lo and behold well over 100 showed up. I wasn't worried about any police or whatever, so we all just had a great time. Drinking way too much and just goofing off. Anyway, there was this one girl that was ostracized from most our graduating class. She had the tendency to make sexual assault claims that were obviously false, as in, saying XYZ guy groped her at ABC's party, but the dude wasn't there or she didn't show either, needlessly starting fights, and had a very grating personality. Whatever. I made it very clear to people that I didn't want her on the property because I didn't want any trouble to start. Well, guess who shows up? That chick. So we were all pretty liquored up and I just told her to have fun and don't cause trouble. Within 15 minutes she had downed way too much booze and was picking fights with several people. I told one of the DDs to take her ass home. All good, right? Wrong. I went and bumped uglies with a friend for a couple hours and came back. The fire's dying down, only about 30 people are left and most of those were crashing in their cars or in tents. Then I hear a groan at the edge of the woods about 30 feet away. This area was at the back of a field and on 3 sides were woods. Well, fuck. I walk over to see guess who? That girl I thought had gone home hours before. The person that I tasked with taking her home later told me she got violent in the car before they left and made her get out. Anyway, I walk over and this chick is wallowing around in half-rotten leaves and sticks, just freaking out. She has soiled herself in every way imaginable. Vomit, shit, piss, the glorious trifecta. Turns out she had taken a bunch of benzos before coming and then drank, which is a big no-no as it can cause fatal respiratory depression. So me and a friend are wondering how the hell we're going to get her home and she starts accusing me of shitting in her pants while she was passed out. I shit you not. The smell was rancid and made my friend throw up. To wrap it up, I calmed her down, gave her some sweatpants, called a friend I knew would be awake and sober at 4 a.m., and paid them to come get her and take her home. That turned what was a fun end to an awesome graduation party into a shit show. Pun intended. Imagine just waking up and your first thought is, who fuck shit in my pants? Senior year. Biology IB 2. The teacher is kinda chaotic and isn't very structured, late a lot, it's his first class of the day, sorta lets us do our work at our pace. So he was late one morning and we were all just sitting and chatting waiting for him. We got in the topic of piercings and one girl said she recently got one of her nipples pierced. We were confused why she only did one and then she showed us. In class, at her desk she just lifted her shirt and bra to show us her single pierced nipple. It took me a second to realize what just happened, then me and my buddy high-fived or something IDK. Same thing happened to me once but not in high school. Me and a buddy bumped into an old high school friend after a night of drinking in the center of downtown. This friend just blurts out, "I got my nipples pierced," and outside in the middle of downtown, just lifts her shirt and bra and shows us her tits. Same exact reaction, "Huh, cool," hops on bus home. Wait a minute. The only proper response to a girl saying, "I have a pierced nipple," is, "I don't believe you." Most girls that tell you they have their nipples pierced are doing so with the intent of showing it off. I don't believe you. A few come to mind. 1. Lots of the sporty couples often hooked up in the wrestling rooms after school, practice, like even after staff found out and started making sure everything was locked they still managed to get in. There was a sorta unwritten rule to leave one of the room's doors the exited outside propped open slightly so that couples could sneak in. Happened all 4 years and honestly most likely still happens. 2. The theater, so many kids hooked up in the theater. Like, holy shit. The most memorable one for that would be a couple was going at it in the catwalks while a play was happening. 3. I was a peer ed, sex ed student. The idea being that if students taught students about sex education they would be more receptive of it. Fun times and stories for another day, but one of my responsibilities was talking with or helping students with questions. The most memorable one was a young freshman, shy, stopped me in the hallway and asked me to help her with a problem. She had been exploring her body with an object and managed to get it stuck. I asked her what the object was, it was an iPod Nano. At that point I was out of my depth and went to go ask another female member to help her out. Girl literally got fucked through a locker room wall when she tried to take on the whole hockey team at once. And I'm not talking glory hole style. It was more like Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah. We were reciting our own poetry for our 11th grade English class. Most of it was just floofy bullshit. However, a jock in class got up and began reciting his poem. It started off slow, but it became clearer and clearer that he was talking about how he would go back in time and deflower our English teacher. He kept glancing back and forth between the teacher and the paper in his hands, ignoring the class entirely. Every face in the room was bright red. The teacher was a deep red, and was crying with uncomfortable laughter. I will never forget the final line, something like, "Until I flood your eager, quivering crevices with my genetic riches." The dude was not that bright, so I am pretty sure the only thing he spent the night with was a thesaurus. Edit, my first gold ever. Thanks, kind stranger. I bought a thesaurus once. Not only was it the worst thesaurus ever made, but it was by far the worst thesaurus ever made. Took it back and got a new one. When I got home the pages were blank. I have no words to describe how mad I was by that point. I'm a childhood expat who went back to rural Illinois at the age of 14. I witnessed some shenanigans there. One time, we were all sitting around a bonfire, and a girl in the group decided to put on a show with a cigarette. She masturbated with a cigarette in front of everyone. She then took it one step further, she used an empty whiskey bottle to masturbate in front of us. None of us knew what to say or do in response to that, so we just let her do her thing. I think we all just felt bad for her. That was the part that was most memorable for me. I'm trying to imagine masturbation with a cigarette and it just ain't adding up. She pretended a cigarette was a small penis. It was as awkward as you made me feel having to elaborate on that one. My physics teacher was an odd duck, zany and eccentric like a lot of science teachers but also overtly racist. 2 occurrences I remember well. First, during a class project, he pointed at a Thai girl, Vietnamese guy, and Cambodian guy, and said, "All right, all these Chinese kids in one group." There was a shocked silence but nothing really came of it. Second one was while studying the concept of tension. He used a hanging example, and asked the only black kid in the whole class his weight, to be used as the example for us to measure the amount of tension that would be in the rope if he were to be hanged. The black kid was also the assistant principal's adopted son, which he must have known, and he got fired. Guy on the football team would bust into the locker room and demonstrate that he could tie his flaccid penis into a knot. He went on to play in the NFL. Hot classmate of mine jumped on my back the first day of theater practice, saying, "You're mine now," eventually led to her giving me head between scenes on multiple occasions. Oh, theater kids. No matter where you go, they never really change. Walked in when my teachers were having sex. Damn homeschooling.